Something interesting happens when capable people now decide to change direction. And the change of direction doesn't mean because they're now failing at whatever they're currently doing or because they can't do that thing anymore. In most cases, it's not the reason, but because they simply outgrew it. And the strange reaction you would often get is people would then start assuming you stop because you're no longer good enough to do that thing anymore. And this misunderstanding, when we're talking about like when people say, okay, you stopped because you couldn't cope, you couldn't handle the workload, you couldn't handle this, you stepped away because you weren't competent, you didn't know your stuff, or like, or you're like, oh, you pivot because things went wrong. So now you've had enough, or blah blah blah. But we capable people often stop because they no longer need to prove themselves. I had this friend, right, who is she's a, she's, I was gonna say jack of all trades, but anyway, she's like, it's kind of like multi-passionate. They can do so many things. So she bakes, she cooks, she decorates, she does so many things, and she can make, like when she makes this Nigerian meat pie. If you've ever had a Nigerian meat pie, please drop it in a comment. Like when you like the proper one, it's one of those things like when she like you go to an event or a party or when you go to a home, like she puts it out in a blink. If you don't grab like two or three at a go, it's gone. It's that good. So she makes this stuff, right? And then after a while, she stopped making them, knowing she is the bomb at making this stuff. And then when we like, there was like some talk about they having an event and they were looking, oh yeah, meat pie. And someone said, oh, she no longer does meat pie. And someone said, oh, maybe because the meat pie is not good. Better from the truth. Her meat pie is like one of the tastiest. The reason she stopped after all these assumptions that he's not good, her real reason for stopping is, for instance, just to make 12 pieces of meat pie. The labor alone takes her 5 hours. And then when you then look at the return on investment, at the time she was only making like £60 profit for 5 hours labor. And then when you're doing an event, they're looking for like 100 pieces and they're looking for all this amount of like the volume that is needed and the labor. So when you look at the energy that is required versus the reward for her, no longer made sense. Even though me buy the tastiest. If she was to like up the price, you'd be like, okay, now like, how like, so if people are not willing to really pay the value, then why is she wasting an energy in making that when there are other dishes and other pastry stuff that doesn't require as much effort that she can put her time in, and the margin and the profit she can make in that is huge. And having that thinking like, oh, people think, oh, because she's not. No, her meat pie is great. And other thing she does too is her skills did not disappear. She still, when she's cooking for home or she's just having like baking, whatever, she still makes it and it's still delicious. It's still there. But what changed was the economic value. It wasn't making sense in a business form to keep doing that and having such return for the effort that she was putting in. So the people was like, oh, she's not. No, it just doesn't make sense anymore. So she no longer makes meat pies, Nigerian meat pies. Like for me, like when in that survivor mode for me as an interpreter. It's like you have to do everything. You have to prove that you can do all these different things. And there was a season when I would like do the high profile thing because when I was learning, I was told I could have been an interpreter. The person who actually inspired me was another dyslexic interpreter who did conference interpreting. And when you think about like, would I be able to like express myself or whatever, this, that, with the tools she learned and the tools that I've kind of learned, yes, we can't do that. So when you're doing like performance or high class trainings or things like that, most of the time you will get the oh, escape my mind. You get the prep before the job, like sometimes weeks on end because of how much. Like some of my colleagues that do like performance interpreting, they get the music, the list of all the music that's going to be used. Sometimes they don't even know which one's going to be played. So they'll give them a list of all the artists' songs, and you have to learn all this 40 list on the thing. We don't know which one's going to be played. Sometimes they keep everything to you learn all this song and then you're just paid for the day, you're just paid for like a little whatever. And for me, because of like the extra effort it requires for me to prepare myself to do this work, to be able to do the conferences or the training or the different things, I just stop of doing them. I just like, and to some people will be like, oh, maybe because she can't do the interpretation, she can't handle the this, she can't handle that. No, it is because my focus has changed. Now I am more wanting to support other colleagues and other people that have those mindset issues. And if I'm using most of my time in prepping, in getting myself ready for the 1 hour or the whole day or whatever, when I can use that time, especially when I was now training to be, I was doing my law of attraction certification, my neural coding specialist, I was doing all this training and stuff, working and then doing this. I'm like, okay, the kind of jobs I'm going to start doing is now not going to be that because I'm now building a coaching business. I'm now building something different that my energy now is required elsewhere than this kind of profile jobs and this kind of like certain things. Yes, I've done like major events like the major mural. What's it called? It's all escaped my mind. I've interpreted the late Her Majesty the Queen. I've done like some when they're doing the Olympics here in London and all those the preps and some of the consultations that were happening, all this hype. I've done my share bit. And the work that is required to make that happen is not a case of like you turn up and then just start waving your hand or turn up and then just start speaking. No, there is a lot of prep that has to happen before the events even starts. And I personally no longer want to do that. And yeah, and then you find people thinking, oh, oh, maybe yeah, she's just general conversation. People saying, oh, this person doesn't know, maybe they're not competent enough to be able to do that. It's not always the case. It could be choice. It could be bandwidth. I have people who just love court work or um, just police work and stuff like that. And for me, it's just heavy. It's more kind of like you have to be like prim and proper and like you certain things you can't even speak to the people you're interpreting for. It's like very formal. And I'm like, that's not me. I'm not like that's not my jam. And it's not because I can't handle situations like that. It's just I like my energy. I like my interaction. I like to just hang in a waiting room and just having conversation before we go in there and like I'm like, well, um, 5 shades of weather we have over here in London and like having those kind of conversations and things like that. That's the reason why. It's not because I can't do it. My energy is going somewhere else. So just because someone stopped doing something doesn't mean they've lost the ability to do it. And you know how it used to be, if you do know, back in the days when my parents were still like working and stuff like that. Back then, it was like when you go into a profession, you stay in that profession or you stay in that company or you stay in that business and work your way up the ladder of that company, and you then progress, and then by when you're 10 years you be given maybe a watch, or you be given a present, and a 30 years or 50 years you just be get like for your services to that company and to the growth, right, for staying there long, and then you retire. That's how things were or used to be, how people did things. But today, the world and a lot of capable people differ. They experiment. They see, okay, let's see if this, like, let's give it the time it needs. Let's do the work. Let's figure things out. Let's get into the flow. And then they evolve. And in most cases, a lot of capable people have multiple identities in terms of like what they do and what they're interested in, and how um, things flow, and all those stuff. Now, back in the day, it was like, if you're ever going to be an accountant, you're accountant for life, and that's it. If you're ever going to be um, in the service industry, that was it. And now people start off like they go and do their thing. Maybe they go into um, nursing or whatever it is. And then they transition. I know a doctor who like did all the training, specialized in a particular field, and got to the point like, you know what, I like making people laugh. Let's go and do that. And people are like, oh my gosh, they can still do the work. It just doesn't bring them joy. It doesn't fulfill them. It doesn't make sense anymore. So they rather do something else. And that's okay. It's not because now the skill's gone or because they can't, whatever. It's not the failure. It's not because they're not competent to say anymore. They just got the clarity for themselves. They ask themselves different questions. They're looking at it from a different way. And a question sometimes they would ask themselves is, this thing, me being in this space, is it worth my energy? Does it bring me joy? Am I passionate in it? Does it still align in the version of me I am becoming? You know? Does this move me forward to the thing that I want, to the things that I desire? Right? Asking ourselves those questions is powerful. And sometimes people think you have stepped down when actually what has happened when that direction changes, you step forward into a different direction. Because capability does not disappear when the direction changes. It just simply follows you into that next chapter. Whatever it is that you're now wanting to do, it's going to follow you in there. And that zeal, that drive, that energy, that flow would follow you through. Because this doesn't bring you joy anymore. This doesn't align with who you're becoming. This doesn't, it's not where your heart is or where their heart is or where, so yeah. Why do that? Because of what? To show that yes, you're on top of your game or whatever that is. It was such a pull push thing for me at the time, because when I would like use, because of how long I have been in this field and I have done all those different things. I've done the mental health, I've done the police work, I've done the court work, I've done like really education and all those things. And knowing like, man, now I come out from this thing feeling dread. I remember doing one police job, right? And this person was arrested for, what's that thing? behavior, forgotten the right term. Like, see, I'm no longer in that field, so I've lost all the terminologies. They were unruly in a public space because they were drunk. And so they were arrested, and then they had to like question them and send like, figure out like get a statement of them. They were still in caustic, they were still in that state. They were still like, oh, yeah. And here they're asking them questions about what happened, about what's going on. And because they're there trying to like, they were not forming right handshakes. There was no clarity in what they were saying. And all of a sudden, it's like, I'm like, excuse me again, like, like, and he just went, oh, she doesn't understand me. She doesn't like, she's not like, da, 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 da. I'm like, babe, I don't understand you. You're not making sense. I said it's all in my head. But it was just like, oh no, she's not, da, 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 she's not. Because you're there saying, I just said, you know what, from that day, I just left that place and said, this is not what my time. Why put myself through this? Why put myself through a situation where it's really hardcore? Like no, like this kind of job. And I think the one before that, I did like a domestic violence thing, or like, well, I just like, no, no, no. This is zapping my energy in terms of like, yes, I'm protecting myself. I have got all my tools, but it just wasn't, nah. So I just stopped. I just stopped from there. And that's, like, but going into now, into what I enjoy, I love my community. I love my medical. I love that interaction. We're hanging in the waiting area before you're called in, or like we're going into doing like a school play. I love therapeutic work, like when they're having a counseling or the different EMDs, they like all these things, like my jam. I'm there as an interpreter, but I'm like seeing how, oh my, like the way you've done, like how, yeah, like something I would learn from, or like, yes, we're not supposed to, but still, I want things that would bring me joy, things that I would actually enjoy, things that are fun to do. That is where my sweet spot is. I don't have to prove to anyone the reason why I am still doing this kind of role. It's not because, oh, it's an easy cock off thing. No, it's just, I just love the variety. I love the people I see. I love the thing. Whereas I have colleagues who theater is their jam. They're like, it just brings their soul on fire. They're like so in, and you see them at their thing, and they are like brilliant at it. But for me, all the script, all the like that, we're good. Not for me. And it is okay. It is fine for that to be how things go. Is having that understanding that it is remembering, we have that one life to live, and this is how things are. And if you're trying to please or justify or say, oh no, I am capable, even though deep down you're not feeling it, it's not bringing you joy, you're just doing it because it's what's expected of you, or it's because you've spent the training or the money or whatever, and feel like, okay, I have to do it anyway, so that people won't think that I still can't do this thing. So I just do it. This is a time to like take that moment and really reflect on and ask yourself, like, where in my life am I still doing something just to meet other people's expectation? What is that thing that I am doing because it's someone like me does this, or my people, like, this is how we roll, or this is a situation. Just because of our expectation, I keep on doing that. Because capable people don't need to stay where they need to prove themselves. Got nothing to prove. Got nothing to prove. You are allowed, they are allowed to move. You are allowed to keep going for your desire. You're allowed to keep flourishing and nurturing your soul. You're allowed to free yourself to the desires that you want. You're allowed to just keep going, moving forward in the thing that brings you joy, to the thing that lights your paths on fire, to the thing that it's like, I love this learning. I love who I am becoming in this journey of getting to that place that I want, regardless of what the world thinks it should be for you or how it should roll for you. Having that awareness that this is what I want. This is how I want to show up. This is how I want things to happen. And I am going for it because this is where my desire is. And if it doesn't bring me joy, if the energy I'm bringing to this thing is not the same as funny enough, I was speaking to a colleague, right, who came in from a really like far distance. Okay, took her about an hour and a half or plus. But the to get there, all the changes and everything was too much. And for me now, even in that space, I just like to do jobs that, if possible, a hip skip away and I'm there. No stress. I like to start the thought of being on a train or going like so farther away. Like sometimes like I look at it and it's like, oh no, I know how to get there. And it's like three changes. You get from this stop, you change to this place, and then change here, and then to get there. I'm like, no, child, nah. Or it's like, or sometimes because of how the infrastructure is, right? Something that I would normally drive that would take me about 20 minutes. If I'm to use the public transport, it would take me an hour and a half. So like the in, you have to go central to come out. And I would have easily drove, right? But the thing is, there's no parking, or if there's parking, it's very limited, or it's very expensive. So why am I going to stress myself? I just don't take jobs like that. Why stress? And then going looking and looking and looking. By the time you find parking, you're already like 20 minutes late. Just because you're trying to find somewhere because it's so convenient to drive or it no. So now I check things like how long is it going to take me to get there? How many changes do I have to make? What is like all those things like shrunk because this is what I want to do. I'm like, there is no I don't stress myself. I don't need that energy. I don't need to prove to anyone I need to do anything. Like this is where I want to work. I don't do certain kinds of work. I'd like just let me do the thing, send my thing, done. Yeah, it's okay. We got, and this is the thing, there's abundance out there. There's enough opportunity that the thing we're leaving, somebody's gonna take over. Someone's gonna like, it's gonna be something that they enjoy, something that brings them joy. And it'll be replaced by someone who is, well, that's their thing. And then you do the thing that you wanna do, how you see fit, how whatever that is. Because this is how we start owning our evolving, owning our becoming, and standing in our truth and being aligned to who we truly are, showing up and doing the thing because we have nothing to prove to anyone. We're allowed to move forward, move in emotion, move in a thing that we want to do. I am Nene. We do this every single day, and we are evolving in real time because your voice matters and it's your time to use it. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.